We've got Devon Toney here, the founder of A.I.N.T. That's all included and treated. He's an activist, a father, a dog owner. Um, Welcome to the Blue Island show.
Hello, guys.
Hi. So go ahead, Dandan.
So, what else would you describe yourself other than just an activist, a father? When people ask you who are you, what do you do, what do you say?
When people ask me who I am, I tell them I'm a man first before anything, a man of God.
Okay.
And I like to think of myself as the Lord's hands and feet. And A.I.N.T. Project is that vehicle that drives us to that destination. I'm a philanthropist. I'm an activist. I'm a civil rights leader. I'm a community leader.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly does A.I.N.T. aim to do specifically?
We feed, we clothe, and most importantly, we counsel the disenfranchised people in the disenfranchised neighborhoods, the marginalized neighborhoods like Wyandanch, Brentwood, Central Islip, Hempstead, Freeport, and any poor neighborhoods on Long Island, mostly Suffolk County.
Yep.
But we have also been to Hempstead and Nassau County. We just got a spot now, a building, so we'll be able to do more organizing. But we feed, we clothe, and we counsel, and it's a 24/7 operation, and that's what we live by the most. Is not just having a movement, but a movement that deals with individuals on a 24-hour basis, so they could call my phone or Latoya Basmo's phone at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not saying that we'll always have it or we'll always be able to leave and be able to handle that business, but we are a phone call away, and the people that we deal with, we become personable with. We have a personal relationship with them rather than an organization or a spot where they come in and get services and then leave and we point them to other services. But we are that 24-hour service. So it's like a mentorship.
What do you usually find people end up calling you about when they do call? Like, what is the general want that people are looking for in the Brentwood area when they reach out to you because they need help or whatever it might be?
All right. This question is a little hard to answer. It should be simple to answer, but I'm too honest to let this one slip by.
Okay.
People call me for BS most of the time.
Okay.
That's serious. You look around this home right now. Can I lift it up? Can I show you something?
Of course.
Go for it. Go for it.
Show you something. See the stuff over here?
Yeah.
These are all donations. You got diapers, you got cosmetics, clothing. Over here, you got food. All of this stuff for all of these people, right? You got beds over there.
Mm-hmm.
You got a whole bunch of sneakers. We got about 100 pairs of sneakers and shoes. But you know what they call me for?
What?
BS, man.
Like what?
Police just ran down on me. I had something on me, and they were messing with me, and this is what happened. Or a cigarette or something like that. People seem like they're more shy to get the things that they really need because they've been turned around so much. So it's become like I don't have to ask nobody for shit. You ever heard somebody say that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the attitude of the people that were around every day because we grow up as children asking for stuff. But I grow up in a neighborhood where you ask for stuff as children and you're watching other people receive in school, on the streets and in stores, and you grow up wondering, why can't I have that? You know what I'm saying? Why can't I? So I grew up with a whole bunch of why can't I? Why don't I have that? So we got to look at places like Huntington and Port Jefferson and the Hamptons, and we watch individuals like children that have more than our parents have. You know, so my point is when you turn down that much, your trust level goes down, and you lose the patience of having to wait on people to hand you something because you've been doing it since like 3, 5, 6 years old. And if you're 20, 30, 40 years old, you get tired. So that's something we have to do. We got to go out of our way to find out what they need to give it to the people, because we're used to them being turned down and feeling shy about that. But they're used to asking for things like cigarettes and coffee. And, we deal with the people that stand in front of 7-Eleven and they're in need, but they're afraid to ask for it because they get turned down by the government so much.
So knowing that, I did a little research about you. I know about your background as a young boy, as a young man growing up. Did you ever see your life hitting this trajectory? And how was that experience like meeting that wall that kind of forced you to reevaluate your life? Because I was watched an interview where you were saying about how you were in a very aggressive state, a very savage environment, and taking you out of that environment kind of made you realize the priorities were different.
Yeah, I was put into prison, and prison didn't rehabilitate me. It didn't make me think about things. It kind of damaged me more, so it wasn't a correctional facility. I was in Auburn, I was in Attica, I was in Elmira, I was in Sing Sing, and all of the county spots. And I didn't learn anything until I met a therapist called Dr. Tester that made me reevaluate what I was doing and how I was thinking about life. I thought as life in terms of what I learned growing up. If you wasn't a gangster, you ain't cool. You got to be G'd up. What's good, my G? What's good, homie? If you wasn't with that, you're a nerd. You're not about nothing. So you find yourself having to protect yourself in school. If you grow up and you commit a crime and you're 16, 17, 18 in jail, you got to protect yourself in jail if you're not with the time. So when I was in jail for many years, until 2011, until I met Dr. Tester, I was with the times. I was doing everything everybody else was doing. But the thing is, I had to be that guy. I had to be the worst. I had to be the best. I had to be the most savage. I had to be the most gangster. And that caused me 8 years of solitary confinement when I was in jail. A year and a half here, 12 months there, 11 months here, 8 months, 6 months, and out of the 17 years I spent upstate, I did about approximately 8 years in solitary confinement because of the way that I'm thinking that you're talking about. But Dr. Tester taught me a different way by showing me that even though you're in a situation and you feel like that your only way out is to hustle and sell drugs because that's all you know, she made me realize that it would be better to suffer and let the Lord handle things than me allow the government to do what they want me to do rather than what my parents want me to do or what I want me to do or what my community needs me to do. But I followed everything the government, what the CEOs and what the police wanted me to do. Like I said, it's a well-oiled machine. The system is not broke. The system is exactly working how they had it designed for. It was for me to go in jail. It was for me to go to foster care at 3 years old, jail at 16, juvenile at 14, prison at 20. Now I'm 46, and the only education I have is education that I have to foster myself because school been over. Mm-hmm. But 2011, period. I stick with that. Dr. Tester was the one. That's who gave me that insight to change the way I look at life.
And how has your relationship with yourself changed? Do you find yourself speaking to yourself differently, engaging interpersonally differently ever since that encounter? Like, how do you talk to yourself? What would you tell your younger self? What would you say? What is what I'm asking?
I tell them to snatch the moment. What you believe is what you are. And I tell them that there's evidence in that if they pay attention to the world outside of them and the way people behave. You look at the people that have a lack of confidence and that has high self-esteem. And I would tell them, watch the way they act. And you see they don't have no shyness in them, and you see the people that are uneducated. They seem confused. They seem outcasted, and that's only because they don't have the same type of information that makes them feel comfortable around other individuals that are privy to the information that they see. You understand what I'm saying? And I tell them that you have to follow the individuals that could teach you something. If you're around individuals that you're always talking about, I'm always being violated, or this person is always disrespecting me, then that's painting a picture. That's painting your destiny. But when you're around individuals and you seek out individuals that have a positive mindset, then that positive mindset is going to create a positive environment, a healthy and comfortable environment. And when you're in a comfortable environment, you could thrive, you could grow. Then you can be comfortable. You can read. You can watch YouTube videos. You can speak on the phone comfortably and speak to people. But if you're in a situation where your mom, your dad, your uncle, your grandma, or whoever's taking care of you as a young child, and you're in that home and things are going on and you have nothing to reach out to, they're going to become conditioned by that environment. Mm-hmm. So I encourage them to come to me so I can help them be reconditioned to something that's real and something that's new. And the only reason I say it's new is because it's old, but it's fresh. It's something that we weren't privy to before. We didn't have that type of information to know that we can actually survive. I'm just learning at 46 about credit and how to buy a home. Okay. How could that be held from me for so long? And why am I finding out that all of my neighbors don't know nothing about that? Even the ones that's renting homes, they don't know how to buy a home. They think you have to have $1, $2, $3, $400,000 to buy a home. They don't know about credit. I didn't know about credit, but it was designed that way. I wasn't supposed to learn about credit.
Growing up, like most places, people learn this in their school or they learn it from their family or friends. The environment that you were in, that you grew up, you were in foster care, and did you ever find yourself having a home at school, having a community in school? Was it just something that was just for nerds and just you weren't about that life at the time?
I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know life as everybody else knew it. You know, when I was in Bellport, at 9 years old, I came from Sagamore Children's Hospital at 8 years old. And they sent me back to my mom. My mom was a heroin addict. And I watched my mom at 9 years old. She was raped. And that's not something that's just like exclusive trauma for one child that was in Bellport or Wyandanch area. You know, it's almost something that's there for everybody. You know, and I had to learn when I was in a comfortable enough environment. It just so happened that had to be jail. It had to be jail. But I was illiterate until out of school, till I was out of school, till I got my GED, and I had to study for that. But I was illiterate up until that point.
Wow. I think one thing I want to ask you, this reality of these two different worlds, between like the world you grew up in and the world of, say, like the really wealthy people who have all this positive kind of reinforcement around them every day and are able to have that time to read and aren't put into these that pressure situation. I just want to ask you, because I know we're one thing we're going to talk about later on is the debate that you have scheduled for with Long Island Loud Majority. One thing a lot of people on that side of the political spectrum like to say is that is 100% just a choice, and the pressures that you experience in that age shouldn't be a determining factor on where you end up in the future. What do you say to people like that?
Well, it's very simple, actually. We have things called responsibility and accountability. I was taking a foster care at 3 years old, and All right. I'm sorry. I was in my thoughts for a minute.
That's all right.
You
That's
have
all
to you
right.
That's
have to
fine. That's
tell
fine.
you have to have people sort of walk in your shoes. Kind of think about, well, who's actually saying this? Is this somebody with experience? Or does everybody that says that points that finger, somebody that didn't live that life? I guarantee you'll never find nobody that lived in the environment I lived in say something like that. So when they find somebody that lived on that other side and that can actually say, I experienced both, and give a conclusive answer with evidence that's based in evidence, there's really nothing to talk about, because you have individuals that grew up in the same household that have separated into different homes, and when they go to that environment that's new to them, they can find failure or they can find happiness. But if you move that environment, it's a change, and the only thing constant in life is change. So that asking that question is basically giving responsibility to a 3-year-old
Correct.
and telling that 3-year-old, regardless of what you experience, you can't even say young man to a 3-year-old. Just imagine talking to me at 3 years old. Listen, Devon, when you get 16, I need you to understand that rape and that abuse, that man and that woman that touched you when you was 5, I want you to ignore that. And I want you to get a job when you're 16 like Johnny did from Iceland. But did Johnny get touched? Did Johnny watch his moms get raped? Did Johnny go to wine dance school where, since I've been born, they've been fighting for funds? Did Johnny have to walk through straight path and wine dance every single day, where out of the 300 people, 50 got guns on them, 40's on parole, 30 on probation? You can't take a child 3 years old or even 15 years old and place him in wine dance and tell him he's going to fare better in wine dance than he does in Iceland or the Hamptons. That's why they keep people from wine dance and Brentwood out of the other neighborhoods, because they don't want it corrupted. So ask them people, how did these people become so corrupted, and why is it okay for them to live in this place but not live in yours? They send all the immigrants to wine dance, to Brentwood, to Bayshore, right? But you never hear about them going to these areas like the East Hampton, uh, East Islip, and Levittown. And they don't even let black people in Levittown, let alone somebody from El Salvador. You understand what I'm saying? Levittown is the first town in Long Island, and they had in their rules and regulations, keep the black people out of here. So that's what you tell the people that say that the environment that you grow up doesn't determine who you grow up into as a man or a woman. You remind them of the environment and what the productivity of the people that came out of them environments are. They always have a Biggie or Pop or somebody that says, I made it. I made it out of Brooklyn. Look. That just goes to show you that these environments are hard to get out of, and that these people are affected by their environment. But you don't see people saying, I made it out of the Hamptons. Look. The evidence is there.
For sure.
And it's clear. It's nothing to talk about. You can't give responsibility to a baby.
I want to ask you about your recent arrest at Ross Memorial Park and the situation that's happening right there right now. What do you take as the motivation behind the county's action in renovating Ross Park, closing it down? I want to hear your take.
Right now, they're keeping it closed right now to cover their tracks, to make it look like what they did had some type of rhyme and reason to it, and it was done for a reason. But all people have to do is see me walking past that same gate, that same park right now that they put up because of me. So now I come home and I go back to this area, and besides my best friend that was murdered while I was locked up, and the people that ended up getting locked up, everybody's still there. It's just a lot less space. The initial motivation was to stop the building that was being done. I seen the police trying to adhere to what they call quota. They try to lock up a certain amount of people, a certain time frame, and they say that when they make a certain amount of arrests, the community is productive or more productive. But I went out there and I used my camera and I had all of these videos, and I stopped that. They no longer do what they did before because of what that Facebook Live and what these videos and what this my case end up causing. However, the individuals that's there, the environment, it hasn't changed. So what evidence can they give to keep the park closed? What evidence can they give to say that they closed the park? Because from what they say, I was a drug dealer, I was a vagrant. What else was I? Philip Ramos, he said I was a whole bunch of things on his live. But I'm not a very good person. I'm supposed to be this really bad person. Yeah, a gangman. I'm supposed to be a gangman. You know? But I seen Philip Ramos, and I seen him at the bakery along with some other people taking pictures when we were in Ross Memorial Park. What we were doing there, we were feeding. We had 2 grills, hamburgers, hot dogs, everything, fries. We had vegetables, juices and candies and chips, and music and people dancing. You had a lot of gang activity around in the neighborhood. Ceased all of that. Put an end to all of it. You had peace. You had a couple of Bloods and Crips hugging and kissing each other. You know, people are starting to learn how to speak to each other, how to learn how to look each other in the eye as men and talk to each other like men. Because in these environments, we don't know how to be men because we were not taught how to be men. We were taught that we had to be gangsters. Nobody said you have to be a man growing up to me. They told me I had to be a freaking gangster. So how could you tell these people, these children, that's 20 and 30 years old, that you have to be a man now when they were never taught to be one? They were only taught how to be Bloods, Crips, and gangsters.
So
see what I'm saying?
How do you respond to statements like there's homeless people there, prostitution, drug dealing? Is that a front in your opinion, or is that a misunderstanding of the situation?
Well, when people that are not homeless come by and say that it's a sore eye at the homeless people?
Sure. And how do you respond to those statements that, for example, Ramos himself has said?
I tell them to look at their government.
Okay.
And I tell them about my experiences in the government. Nobody's out there because they want to be out there. Even the crack addicts, even the dope addicts, they would rather be home shooting crack and dope. But the thing is you have the Department of Social Services that they're responsible for housing homeless people and people that are in unsafe housing. However, they're sending people away from the Department of Social Services. And I know this because they did it to me. And I'm living in this home now because I'm homeless.
How did they
and
turn
they sent me away even with a doctor's letter?
What was that situation
that's saying
like?
I can't go to a shelter. So I tell them, check your legislators, check your assemblymen, and find out if these people are there on their own accord or if these people have housing issues and addiction issues that are not being taken care of. Because if Winedance had $23 million given to them in 2021 for the community, imagine what Brentwood has. Because Winedance has 6,000 to 7,000 residents, and Brentwood has 60 to 70,000 residents. So if they got that much money to help the community, how much you think came into Brentwood? And how much do you see it going to that area that they're talking about? Zero. So where's that money going? It's going to Philip Ramos, the politicians, the organizations that say they're supposed to help. They say they're supposed to be giving out food and doing this stuff. I don't need you to hand me nothing. I don't need you to help me with this food. There's other help. But this is the thing. Organizations and government has found out how to utilize 501(c)(3)s, LLCs, and say that they're going to do this, that, and the third with it. and then pocket a whole and learn how to pocket it. That's why them people are at that bus stop and that train station and on them blocks, because they have nowhere else comfortable to go. They're always given alternatives like go to Riverhead or the Wading River to this shelter that we have until we get you straight. You really think a crack or a dope addict is going to go to the suburbs of Riverhead or Wading River and sit with no crack or dope? This is the thing. We're not here to judge crack and dope addicts. It's on the Department of Social Services, because I'm not here. If I was in the Department of Social Services and you was a crack addict and you was a dope addict and you came to me for housing, the last thing I should do is worry about, well, you can't, are you going to do this over there? Are you going to do that over there? With experience, it tells me that you're going to find a way to use crack or dope because you're an addict. But you're also knowing that you came for housing. You don't want to be in that position. So if I put you in a safe and healthy environment with staff that care about you to help you, automatically I know you're going to thrive off of that. But if I send you with nothing and just turn you away, I'm going to go to the bus stop and train station too, because I cannot go to Babylon or Islip because they don't allow me to sit at their train stations or bus stops or their blocks. But I could do it in Brentwood because it's a poor neighborhood where there's a lot of people suffering the same consequences from the same government.
So when you said send you to Riverhead, how did they turn you away from housing? Can you explain that specific situation?
They just told me that they don't place people in motels and hotels. However, the judge, administrative judge, she said the only alternative for me was a motel or hotel placement because I suffer from schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder, and mood disorder. And I was hospitalized 7 times in a row when I was at a shelter called TLC in Huntington. So I had to go down to the Department of Social Services for 2 months straight, filling out speedy requests, trying to get housed, where my therapist and the doctor said that is the only place I could go. They didn't want me in a shelter, but they would send me to a motel for a day or two, and they would try to send me back to a shelter. And the thing is they're paying $1,900, $2,000 for me to stay in the shelter for one night. They would be better off paying $1,200, $1,300 for putting me in a 1-bedroom house to rent. That just goes to show you it's working like a well-oiled machine. Who would rather pay $2,000 rather than $13,000? And add that up if you got 10 people that you're paying $2,000 for instead of $13,000. Now add it up. So that's 7 off of each of those. That's a lot. The number becomes very big.
According to Ramos, and he has said openly in a video on Facebook that he has offered all these people counseling, housing, but no one is willing to take the offer. From a few things that you said before, where do you think that's connected to? Do you think it's connected more to people not willing to go out and ask for help? Or is it when they do ask for help, they're being put into shelters, situations, they're being told to live out of their neighborhood? Which one do you think is the reason why, according to him, no one reached out?
He's never done that. I'll tell you that. Gonzalez has, the legislator. Samuel Gonzalez has went out there and offered help. Samuel Gonzalez has came out there with Frances Pierre, the director of the Department of Social Services, the head. Samuel Gonzalez came out with the head of the Department of what's that? The Department of Labor, and he came out there by himself. So you have a legislator, Samuel Gonzalez, came out there, and he met Cece, he met Goldie, and he met people personally. He shook their hands. Nobody knows Philip Ramos except he's the person, along with Angie Carpenter, that closed the park and made it hard for the people in that community. That park was being used for people to come, like what's his name? Noel, Speedy from Rough Riders, from what's the other group name? The Punishers. Those are bike groups. They came there and they donated their time and their money. And they spoke to the people. You had people come from other organizations, DSA, and PSL. That's the Party for Socialism and Liberation. and democratic socialism and what is it of America, Democratic Socialists of America. So these individuals, they come there, and the individuals that are around in that area, they can name them and they can point to them and be like, hey, Tim, ain't that Tim McNoble over there from DSA? Yeah, Democratic Socialists of America. They know them. Nobody knows Philip Ramos because he's lying. And I guarantee you, if you challenge him to just put his coat on, no hat, no mask, and to walk down the block and to see if anybody says hello to him, I guarantee you he would lose that. But I guarantee you Samuel Gonzalez couldn't do it. He could. No, he couldn't. He couldn't walk down that block without somebody saying hello to him now, because they know who he is now. And that's what I've been demanding, I've been begging for the individuals to come out there and get to know them personally, because if you don't know them personally, you don't know what they need. Because the individuals like Ramos, he don't have the experience like these individuals have. And I'm not talking about, you know what he might say? Well, I lived in Brentwood for such and such. Being from Brentwood doesn't mean you're from the streets, man. Just because you say you're from Brooklyn doesn't mean you're from the streets. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have experience of having a mom that was on crack and dope. He doesn't have the experience of being in foster care and in hospitals at 5 and 6 and 7 years old. You have a community of people that have these experiences that Philip doesn't have. So Philip comes and he's offering his help. He says he's offering, but let's say he did. What experience does he have to give them help? What help did he offer? Because he doesn't have it in his know-how to help anybody that's disenfranchised. So what can he do besides say the address for Department of Social Services is this? The address for such and such and such and such is that, and the church over there, and it's a church over there. He can't do nothing, because what we have to do first is know how much money came into Brentwood, how much money went to each organization in Brentwood, and how much each organization did that got funds in Brentwood. Because you have an organization called Uplift Our Towns, who gets a lot of money for buying the same rakes and shovels that they had for the last, I don't know, since they've been open. But it's an organization that gets funds. But the community's not seeing no funds. I'm confused on that. How they're offering help and don't have nothing to give these people, no homes to give these people. They can tell them to go down to the Department of Social Services, and when they get turned down, Philip Ramos does nothing. Nobody does nothing. Right now, Samuel Gonzalez says he was trying to work on something to eliminate a lot of the suffering of the people in that community, which is basically right by his office, around the corner. It's like a 2-minute walk from Sam's office, 5-minute walk from Phil's office. But we're working on something, but it has to be the people with experience that gets the job done. We don't need Philip to do nothing but to vibe and communicate with us. That's it.
You see Philip Ramos. He kept saying that the $600,000+ that he had put for the park was towards construction for recreational things at the park. Have we even seen anything at all from that?
Nothing. They did put something in the park for a couple of months. They put a bulldozer in there, and they just moved it like a month ago. That bulldozer ain't moved one stick, leaf, or piece of grass. They did nothing with the park at all. They got a gate around it that's being rented. Let me put you on to that. Are you privy to know about them gates and how that stuff work? When the government shuts something down, they have to go to these places that put up these fences for rent. They don't buy these fences. They have people that get annually or monthly or weekly a check for having that fence there. They're renting this fence. The person that has this fence are their friends. So as long as that fence stays up, money goes to the people that has the fence up. And as long as money goes to the people that's dealing with that fence in that park, Philip gets money, Angie gets money, and everybody else that's supposed to be doing something in that park. But Long Island, especially Suffolk County, it's like it's off. We're way in the water somewhere. So you got Eric Adams and all of these people doing all this work over there, and we got nobody over here doing crap, doing nothing.
Right. And
What
that
would be
park's been
some of
closed
your
down since like September of 2020, right?
Yeah,
And it's
I
2022
think
now. So
September 4th, Latoya said.
wow.
And there's no reason for it because there's nobody that was around that wouldn't be around if the park was open. Like the park only helps the residents. You have a elderly facility apartment complex behind the park. You have a behind the complex behind the park. So they use the park's path. It was a walkway. If the park is a walkthrough to get to the grocery stores and to get to the old folks home or the senior complex, whatever they call it. And now they literally, I gotta film this for you guys. They walking through the woods. No, they were walking through the woods. Now they have to go around. They just the woods. They cut down the trees and they made it like into like a ditch or something. So they cleaned out the trees. And
okay?
this is the thing: if somebody was selling drugs, right, in a park or behind the trees, you cut a tree down and you close the park. What the heck is that doing for the community, though? What is that doing? I don't understand. Like, the community is so disillusioned by the media, and the media sits there and they sensationalize all of this stuff, and society and the community goes for it. But all we have to do is sit back and think like that. I'm 46. Such and such happened when I was 30 and 35. If I wasn't, if it never did, would my life be any different? And it wouldn't. We're like, they got us watching all of what they sensationalize just so our eyes and our minds are focused on what they wanted focused on, and we're out there freaking drinking and smoking crack all day.
So what
They
would be
got
some
us,
of the
man. They
things?
got us in this position. Good.
What would be some of the things that you would want to see happening in Brentwood? What are some things that you would advise politicians, people who care about activism, care about making law? What are some of the things that you want to see politicians push for in these areas that will actually help the disenfranchised?
First and foremost, all organizations, every single organization has to come to the table. And since 501(c)(3)s and these organizations get government funding, I would like to see the leaders in government and our community force a roundtable and force a discussion and see where these funds are going to, and build a team that's experience based and get the ideas from the people and have leaders that's experienced and to deal with them in that way, because only the people that have experience know what they need. They know where they failed and they know where they can win at if they have opportunity. So
What's an opportunity
that I would say is first and foremost. I would beg for to get all the organizations to the round table.
what do you think would have been an opportunity that would have helped you when you were young?
To grow up in a different environment. If I had the opportunity to wake up in a bed and be able to go to the bathroom and to eat breakfast and go to school on my own, but I didn't have that life, I would be lucky when I passed 9 years old, all the way up until 20, if I even had a bed to sleep in. That was my own. At 46 years old, I've never had a home. I'm 46, brother. I've never had a home. And I know a lot of people that's around my age, a little younger and a little older, they've never had an experience of having a home. So many of my people that I know that grow up the way I do, They're busy trying to find ways around the system that doesn't love them. So we got to go out. We got to try to find squatter houses and try to have sex with a female or something, hoping she likes us, just so we could be warm at night. You know, you're talking about individuals that have bruises on the mind that's heavy. And when you have that type of trauma, you know, the actions that come after that trauma, we don't have the we can't judge them people, man, unless we went through exactly the same thing. Because even what I go through, you go through, and he go through, if it's exactly the same thing, our tolerance and our temperaments are different. We're different. We're made different. Our genetics are different. So what may hurt you may not hurt me as much. What may cause you to commit suicide may cause me to become an activist. So I would say opportunity. I grew up with zero opportunity because my mom had zero opportunity. So I grew up watching my mom use dope all day, and I had to help her use dope when I was living with her until I ended up into the hospital myself. So I had to grow up with a mom and dad that was also in and out of jail and in mental institutions. So that ended up being the beginning of what people thought my destiny was going to be. Until I met Dr. Testa, and she taught me that was the case, and she proved it to me.
Did you not believe that was the case before, Dr. Testa?
At the time that I'm talking, I didn't have beliefs. My only beliefs was that I was the toughest man alive, and that anybody that stepped to me was going to hear about it, or I was going to snuff them, I was going to stab them, I was going to shoot them. My mind was just violent because I was looking for something that I didn't know what it was, and that was love. That was love. I didn't know what love was when my mom died. So I spent my life searching for that, because that's what human beings do. That's what living creatures do. You look at the dog laying here on the ground, and you can see the emotions flowing through the eyes of the dog. You know, she wants to be accepted. She wants to be loved. And if I was to abuse that dog and then send them to another home, you tell the people and you ask them, do you think that dog is going to be able to start his life in that home the same way he started your life and yours? The answer is no, because he started in your home unabused until you hurt him. And when you cause that dog trauma and you send him to another home, you're going to watch him curl up. He's going to be afraid. When that new owner tells him to sit down, like I tell her to sit down, she curls up and she's afraid. And I could tell she was abused. The last thing that somebody needs to do is to tell a human being that was abused what he or she should be doing, or how they should be living their lives, or how they should have turned out. Because I could show you an animal, and they can't show me one that's been abused that didn't turn out different, that wasn't affected by bad behavior of humans. Apes, monkeys, dogs, cats, you can name them. A lot of the animals, most of them that were domesticated, were abused, and in the zoo, their behaviors change dramatically. So what do you think is going to happen to a human being's mind?
How did you even get on the radar with Long Island Loud Majority? What even began this whole let's debate them, let's talk to them? Because from the people who come into Brentwood and the people who you speak that you know, you're talking about the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, you're talking about generally left wing, even further to the left than Democrats, right? You're talking about people who are. What made you want to even talk to Long Island Majority? How did it even happen?
Kevin from I reached out to Kevin from Loud Majority because there was some discussion within my people about Loud Majority and some of their antics and what they do. They're, like you said, they're on the right. They say they're like these super Republicans, and people say they're racist. they're Trumpsters, and people look at Trump as a racist and doesn't like black people. And I could care less about all of that. I think all of that stuff is sensationalized and BS. And I don't think Trump being a racist matters. I don't think loud majority being racist matters. I think they're all uneducated. I know they're all uneducated. And I know that to be a fact because when we go to protest and we talk to individuals that's in opposition and we can get the agitators away from us, they always agree with us. And we actually have a few friends that were on the other side. Megan Ann is one of them. Hi, Megan Ann. We went to a protest and we met Megan Ann at no, not Megan Ann. I'm sorry, Heather Ann. Megan Ann is our other friend, and they were on the other side. And my idea is to conversate and to see where you stand. So you see where I stand and we come to a common ground and we see what the truths are. But like I said, media sensationalizes all of this stuff. And you have people like Loud Majority. They're both very educated. Kevin, and what's the other gentleman's name? Sean.
Sean.
You watch their podcast. I only seen like one or two, but you see them speak. They're pretty educated and they're and Sean and Kevin are articulate. But the people that they speak to, are they as educated and articulate as Sean and Kevin? And I think not, because it takes common sense. It takes common sense. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that you have disenfranchised individuals in different communities, and that when you take away from individuals, they're gonna get it the best way that they know how. So you go into disenfranchised poor neighborhoods, and they're pointing fingers at these individuals like they're vagrants and they're foul people, but they're just people that lack opportunity. For so sure. they're riding with a government that disenfranchises them.
So you said that the people that Sean and Kevin speak to are uneducated. So why do you think that Sean and Kevin speak the way they do?
I think they speak the way they do because the same reason why you have a lot of 501(c)(3)s out here that see opportunity in the 501(c)(3) other than what they say it is. And that's what we would have to get to the bottom of it is. But the education, you can have an individual that's educated or that's but what are you educated on is the thing. Because 5%ers are educated, right? What do you call the people that don't believe in God? Atheists are educated. But the thing is, what are you educated on? Is the information that you're educated on real? Is it fruitful? Is it truthful? And I just say that they're educated on the wrong information. So the individuals that they speak to and that follow them, they're uneducated. So they get educated from the education that Sean and Kevin have. So they're receiving the education from them, but the education that's real and that's fruitful, they're not privy to. They're lacking that opportunity, like I lacked opportunity in life when I was young. They're lacking that opportunity in real education. They still think Columbus discovered America. Come on.
So when it comes to, you brought up atheists before, right? But those who don't believe, well, you know that most people from the DSA and from the most more secular. They're proportionally, they're much more likely to be atheists than people in the Republican side. Do you think that matters at all, or do you think that doesn't really have anything to do with that?
No, I don't think it matters at all. I believe that we continue to educate ourselves and continue to give opportunity where opportunity is lacking. Individuals that have belief, them beliefs are only founded in what you had opportunity to have in front of you. When you have something else in front of you, you have more opportunity to learn something and go the other way. So my thing is, it doesn't matter. It's just I'm not gonna point the finger. My job is to try to give you education that's fruitful, but not to point the finger and say that, oh, you don't like black people, oh, you're a racist. I'm not gonna dislike even a racist. I don't care if you're the biggest bigot in America. I don't dislike you. I know your education is flawed because God didn't make us this way.
What's one thing that you're looking forward to discuss with Kevin and Farah specifically? Is there any specific experience that you've had that you think they would really much appreciate to hear, or any specific points that you think are logically flawed that you disagree with that you really want to get to the bottom to?
I would like to ask Kevin and Sean how they think they would fare if they grew up in a democratic society that was ran most of your life by Democrats in the Department of Social Services as a baby on into the time now. And I want to know if they believe that they would fare any different, better or worse. Because many times, I don't think people are disillusioned on that. I just think they're in denial. Many times you hear people like today, somebody said to LaToya at that rally, at the protest, just get a job. When somebody says that, already you're showing me how flawed you are. Just get a job. You don't just get a job where I'm at. You know, there's no such thing as just get a job. It's you have to. Did you make your calls this morning? This is week number 19. Did you call that? Did they call you back yet? Whereas if I was on the other side, if I was living where the way Sean and Kevin grew up, I would be able to just go get a job. And I have friends, I have evidence that can just go get a job because A.I.N.T Project is all included and treated. This is not Black Lives Matter. We're not a group that favors one side over the other. We're not a group that says we love blacks and dislike Caucasians, and we're none of that. All included and treated. You know, we were put on this earth, and we were put on this earth to love one another and to use things, not to use each other and love things. But I would love to hear that from both Kevin and Sean. How do you think you would fare if you grew up with the lack of opportunity that I had and the individuals that grew up in Wyandanch and Brentwood? And if you did grow up in that environment, do you still think you would be going with the same mindset? It's evidence there that you wouldn't have the same mindset. Just look at the countries. Muslim countries, Catholic countries, Christian countries. Anywhere you go, you're going to be affected by the environment that you grow up in. So you're telling somebody in a Muslim country with Muslim clothes on that grow up with Muslim ways, that grew up with the Quran right next to them, you can't tell me that God put you there and that everybody with a different language, a different color is all like, there's no way that you could get me to believe that, because Christians can say the same thing in Rome and other people could say that over, you know what I'm saying?
But
like we were put here for a reason.
At what point do you think personal responsibility does come in? Because I couldn't disagree with you whatsoever. Your environment shapes who you are. Where I grew up, my history, I've been very lucky and very privileged to be able to go to university. I've been very lucky and very privileged my life. But at what points do personal responsibility do count? And where
I don't
can
think
you
we should
empower
be
that?
able. I don't think we should be able to make that decisions for anybody.
Okay.
If I made that decision for you, I'm pointing the finger at you. I'm telling you how you should feel about when you was 5 years old, when I wasn't even there. I shouldn't be able to tell you that you should be responsible when you turn 21 if I don't know what your life was at 20, 19, 18, 17 and below. Because what affected you may not affect me. But also what affected you may cause me to want to kill myself. So when you're talking about personal responsibility, you're talking about individuals that have a degree from 1 to 1,000 of know-how, of education, and everything else. You can't take a disabled person or a person that has cerebral palsy and tell them to get up and start running laps just because you want them to and you think that that's the proper way to do it. No, you don't understand cerebral palsy because you don't have it and you're not a doctor. But you do know that they're not capable of doing that because of the conditions that they're in, because of the mind frame that they have, their education that they're capable of having. So now you take any individual that doesn't have cerebral palsy, and you could say what you want, but we all do know, growing up in school, we know everybody has a different degree of education and a different level of opportunity. We come from different homes. So I couldn't point the finger at anybody and say that there's a certain age or of that you should have a personal responsibility. But I will say this: once you become educated, everything after education, karma's going to pay you for that. So we don't have to point the finger, because what goes up, what must come down. You touch fire, you're going to get burned. You know, it doesn't matter what environment you're out. If you're on a block where guns are at, it's possible you could get shot. But it's unlikely to get shot if you're in your home taking care of your children and your family. I didn't grow up even knowing what a family was. So how could you even say get a job and go home and take care of your family?
You didn't even have one.
I heard of what a family was, and I heard of how families are supposed to act. I never had one. I have people on my page. Look at them. Tony. I don't know none of them people, man. I don't know none of them people, y'all. But we have the same blood running through us. But because my opportunity was stripped from me and I was put into foster care, I don't even know my family, bro. My family don't even love me. But guess what? The people that point the finger at me gotta know that I have to live with that fact until I leave this earth. So while they're there pointing the finger, sitting next to mom and dad, I never knew mine. I never knew cousins and uncles and aunts like that. I've met them before. Some of them. Probably spent a day or two with one or two of them. I don't know none of them people, man. The government took that from me. And I got the same government and the same people that support this government telling me that I should be responsible for my actions after they put me in an environment and told me how to act.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. With regards to the point on education, I mean, that's something that Dandan and I, Nick as well, talk about all the time, the importance of education and creating those opportunities as well with education. One thing that is a huge talking point, or has been over the past like 6 or 7 months or so, has been in terms of like at the national kind of like hyper sensationalized media level, has been this conversation on CRT, on like critical race theory. And some say it's like teaching history about race and the issues of race. I wonder what's your opinion on that whole conversation and why it's even been taking place.
The critical race theory thing, I think, is just another tool to get people to focus on something, so they don't focus on what they're working on. I believe you would have to be have a bigot mind to actually know what critical race theory is in its entirety and to be against it, because it's not what people say it is. And I understand individuals that don't have education or the information on it, saying, oh, they're not with it, they don't want it, they don't like it. But the thing is, everybody that's saying it, they don't know the course. They don't know much about it except what's sensationalized on the news. Because to be honest with you, that's all I know about CRT is what I see on the news. And I almost got caught up into getting into debates about it. Oh, Chris. Then I'm like, hold on. I don't really know what that is, but I do know I do know what a good real education is.
Mhm.
So I would really have to delve into it to give you
For
like
sure.
the best solid answer. But
For sure.
I do know that if it's weird for somebody to complain about critical race theory that that has made little paper maches and going to school with this Columbus stuff going on all their lives, you know?
Well,
Yeah, for sure.
another point, a strong talking point that I see from people who are opposed to ideas like Raj, Nick, and I, and whatever Blue Island stands for, is when they talk about that as laws and the way in which we should approach these problems should have nothing to do with race, should have nothing to do with racial or ethnic background. Knowing the fact that these issues affect African Americans, Hispanics, and immigrants at a much higher rate than other races, what do you say to that? Because it's clear to me that, of course, we have to talk about race.
I say that we have a lot of cowards in our society because when you read stuff like Samuel Gonzalez is on a housing committee where 50% of blacks and 49% of Hispanics are being turned around when they go to buy a home, and that uh, black and Hispanics are being stopped at Brentwood and Suffolk Avenue and Brentwood Road at a 8 times rate of those of their Caucasian counterpart. It's evidence that it's evidence there. So anybody that doesn't uh, uh, admit to that is kind of like shirking on their responsibility to be held accountable for their actions. And the reason why I say accountable for their actions, you may think that the community is not responsible, but they are, because we always complain about where our tax dollars go, right? So since we always complaining about to people, I'm a taxpayer and I pay tax dollars, we need to go to the government and and get them to understand that when we send people to these bus stops and train stations, and they're homeless, I have a high likelihood of having my car and my home robbed, of having my pockets robbed, and having people looking at me um as a victim because they don't have what I have. I don't even feel comfortable having anything because I'm always in an environment where people don't have. So I'm always around people that don't have. So it's like, what am I doing with this? You know, it's not a comfortable feeling.
And when you say about people hanging out at bus stops and uh, train stations, I know that in Nassau County and Suffolk, they closed down the waiting booths at train stations. How
He
has that
closed down what?
affected the waiting booths, the indoor waiting booths? The only ways to be outside, especially with winter rolling on. How does that change the landscape of Brentwood, Wyandanch, etc.? How does that change the way people behave and people interact?
That they shut down the where they can't go in and be warm.
Yeah.
Well, it changes because, like I said, people they're gonna look at you as a victim. Everybody that lives in Regis Park or anywhere around Ross Memorial Park area is in grave danger. Not just danger, grave danger, because the government allows people to sleep out there, to smoke crack and do dope out there, and to live out there without doing nothing about it. And I'm not talking about going to arrest nobody. I'm talking about setting people up for success, bro. It's not that we don't have that much important stuff. We don't have that much important stuff to where you can't get 5 or 10 people to go out there to a particular spot and spend time. Not direct people, point to where to go, but spend time, take them where they need to go, and set them up for success. If we're giving out these billions of dollars, then you have money to pay people to go out there and spend time with people that need time spent with them. We got people paying, government paying all of this money for people to get straight, but nobody is personal. Nobody knows nobody, but it's millions and millions and millions being spent.
Where do you think those
And that's
millions are
only
going?
because they're not familiar with the people. The people don't know where it's going.
Do you know where it's going? Do you have any inclination from your connections,
Yeah,
or
it's going straight to these people's families into their pockets. Straight to the families into the pockets. They learn how to voice the needs of the people to benefit themselves. I see, look on Facebook right now. Look on my page. I guarantee you'll see it, man. You're gonna see people soliciting for stuff from poor people, yo. Like poor people giving to poor people, and I get offended. I'm quiet on a lot of stuff now that I wasn't quiet on before because I'm just busy out there trying to get this work done, and trying to get this safe house and this building and try to get people off the street. It's cold out there. We're inside. I don't feel comfortable being inside. It's people out there cold right now, and we got beds right over here. We got two beds right over there for people in the community. Sometimes Goldie comes, sometimes a couple other people, they'll come to get out in the cold. It didn't work out the way we thought it was going to work to the best, but it worked out because there's been many nights people have come out and them storms, remember the storms from last year, and they've come in and they're sleeping and they're good. So I'm glad we have this stuff and did all of that, and I don't care if not even one item moves. I know my intentions are pure, and the only thing that matters is what the Lord has in store for me.
for sure? So, Devon, it's been awesome talking. Do you have any last words? Anything you want to say? How people can follow you? How people can help? How they can reach A.I.N.T? What can they do, and how they can get in contact with you guys to help out in any way they can?
Yeah, I'll have a couple of last words. I need the people to really to go and speak to individuals that not just only have experience from years ago, but have experience from earlier today, from yesterday. That's going to have experiences tomorrow and next week, and see where their heads at, see how they feel, and talk to them because uh, the individuals that we deal with on a daily basis, many of them, they don't know who some don't even know who the president is, to tell you the truth. Let alone who runs the town or who the legislator is. But I urge people, especially the organizations, to reach out to the people that suffer the most. And I guarantee there's a reward in it for you. If a reward is what somebody was looking for, I would say do the work. And I guarantee 100% surety you will be rewarded. The same way people are rewarded when they do garbage and dirt to each other. And when karma falls upon them, positive energy and positive karma will fall upon you when you do good works and you help to disenfranchise people. The best way that you could reach us is through our Facebook. As you see my name spelled there, Devon, last name Tony. That's my Facebook name. And Latoya Basmore Facebook page. We have a number 631-796-4873, 757-448-0583. And on Facebook, we are ain't all included and treated, right? And Instagram.
I also want to say
On
you
Instagram
have
and
a
Twitter also.
rally on the 29th, right? Where is that going to be?
The rally on the 29th?
Yeah. That's going to be at is that at Jericho Turnpike in Huntington?
Yeah, the press conference rally. That's going to be in Huntington at our building.
Okay, that is noon 1858 East Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, New York, right? For everyone to
Correct.
know.
That's the address. Yes. And let me tell the people this address, this building, this is A.I.N.T Projects Growth and Development Center. And this is where we could you could go and you can become educated. You could come, you get coffee, get donuts, bagels, counseling. We have spiritual counseling, therapy, and a load of information and individuals on real time that you could reach out to and get things done. And we do things as a team. Nobody has to be alone. When you enter this zone, you're not alone. You have a team. Until you leave this earth, you have a team when you deal with the A.I.N.T project.
Right. This rally on the 29th. Do do we want do you want to say anything more about it? What exactly is going to be like talked about? What people will be coming for?
Yeah, the conference it's about my life and what the police has done and what they tried to accomplish um at uh at Ross Memorial Park, and what I've been going through the judicial system. Uh I've just come from court, and I wasn't even allowed to tell the record that I was traumatized. Um this is during sentencing. So the press conference is gonna give this information about the judicial system, about the third precinct and the police, and what I went through in the system, so people could better understand what's going on.
All right. And this this debate on Wednesday with Long Island Loud Majority. Is that going to be covered on the Loud Majority page itself? How will we people how are people going to watch that?
Yeah, I'm hoping that he airs it. I'm still trying to. Me and Kevin from Loud Majority have spoken, and uh, through text message, and the decent conversation. I believe they may have seen who I was and trying to fall back.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I'm hoping that's not the case, and I'm hoping that we go ahead along with it, because there's a lot of information that people don't have, and I think it's better to communicate than to have the TV sensationalize things for us.
For sure.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I, for one, having had this interview now, having spoken to you, having met you, I absolutely love what I've heard from you. I'm absolutely ready to do what I can when I can. And we hope that we can see that conversation between you and Kevin. Kevin,
Yep.
if you're watching, uh, definitely have that interview. We will be all excited to see that conversation. Um, but for now, I think that's all we have left for today. So thank you so much for being here,
Thank you.
Devon.
Really, really thank you so much, Devon.
Um,
Thank
it's
you, sir.
been
Thank you.
fantastic. It's been
I
absolutely
enjoyed
fantastic.
talking to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Of
All
course.
right, have a good one.
You too. Salute, brother.